Good evening, Pinellas County Schools families, and welcome to the Parent Academy webinar, Bullying and Harassment, What Parents Need to Know. My name is Sheila Kane, and I'm the District Coordinator for Family and Community Engagement. We are so happy you've taken the opportunity to participate tonight. If you're joining us on your laptop or desktop, it's best if you use Chrome as your browser. If you are on a mobile device, you will need to download the Blackboard app to see the slides. For questions this evening, please open the Collaborate panel by using the purple arrows on the lower right-hand part of your screen, and then use the conversation bubble to type in your questions anytime throughout the presentation. We will go through and answer those questions then in the last 10 minutes or so of the webinar. Please be aware that everyone can see what you're typing, so it's best if you don't include your student's name or any personal information. If you're having trouble hearing the presentation, you can always use the phone-in option. Open the session menu with the little lines at the upper left of your screen. Select Use Your Phone for Audio, and you'll be given a phone number and PIN to use. Okay, on to the presentation. We are privileged tonight to have as our presenters Ms. Joan Rubens and Ms. Doreen Daughtry of our Pinellas County Schools Prevention Office. Ladies, it's all yours.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you so much, Sheila. Okay, so welcome, and we are so glad to have you here. We're going to be going through our presentation, and of course, if there's any questions that you have, please feel free to ask them. So we're going to start with the 160,000 students that miss school every day due to the fear of attack or intimidation by other students. This is actually a nationwide number. Okay. We also know that if our children are not physically and emotionally safe in schools, then they are going to have a very difficult time. So we want to make sure that our kids are feeling safe, and we want to make sure that bullying is not occurring, because we know that that does impact the learning, and we have students that will miss school, we have students that will drop out, and then of course we have students that get involved in school violence. We have a policy against bullying and harassment in Pinellas County schools, and our policy applies anywhere that education is taking place. It can be during any educational program or activity conducted by the school district, during any school-related or school-sponsored program or activity, on a school bus or at a school bus stop, and also through the use of the computers or data, cell phones, whether it happens on school grounds or not. When it involves the cyber world, the school will investigate and find out what's going on. So what is bullying? Well, if you take a look at the picture and you see the target on that child's chest, that's when a student is feeling exposed repeatedly and over time to negative actions on the part of one or more students. So that child that is receiving those negative behaviors feels as if it's always directed toward them. No matter what they say, maybe wherever they go, what they do, maybe who they go sit with, there's a certain student or students that will target them and say or do things that would be conducive to bullying behaviors. So our policy defines bullying. So this is directly from our written policy, and the policy defines bullying as systematically and chronically inflicting physical hurt or psychological distress on one or more students or employees. Bullying may also involve, but not limited to, just the lists that you see here on your screen, but we have the teasing aspect, the social exclusion, kids wanting to leave another child out on purpose, students who use intimidation, cyberbullying, stalking, including cyber stalking, physical violence, theft, religious or sexual or racial harassment, public humiliation or private humiliation, and of course, destruction of property. Harassment, this is how our policy defines harassment as any threatening, insulting, or dehumanizing gesture, use of data or computer software, or written, verbal, or physical conduct directed against a student or employee that places a student or employee in reasonable fear of harm to his or her person or damage to his or her property. It has the effect of substantially interfering with a student's educational performance, opportunities, or benefits. Has the effect of substantially disrupting the orderly operation of the school. We also look at discriminatory harassment that falls under the umbrella of bullying and harassment. And this is when hateful or that just kidding harassing comments that are based on race, color, national origin, sex, or disability, as well as to include such bases as sexual orientation and religion. It violates the civil rights laws that the Office for Civil Rights enforces. So what are the key elements of bullying? There's always going to be three key components when we look at a behavior as to whether it is considered bullying or not. The first one is the imbalance of power. This is when students, it could be a social status. Maybe we have students that come from a higher socioeconomic status than other students, and they use that as a way to harm other students. It could be the new student who comes to school and they are brand new, they don't know anybody, and you have a student at the school that has been there a while, and they target that child and make them feel uncomfortable, maybe unwanted, and they direct negative comments and actions toward them. So we always look for that imbalance of power, but I also want you to remember it's a perceived imbalance of power. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it could be the bigger student picking on the smaller student. We know that that happens, but we also can see where there are smaller students that will pick on the larger student, because students who bully rarely do it by themselves. There's usually other students, maybe not present in that moment, but the kids know who their friends are. So we definitely look for that imbalance of power. We also look at the intent, the intentional piece. Are they intending to do this to harm, or was it an accidental thing? So we take a look at the imbalance of power, whether they were intending to harm, which means whether they're looking to embarrass, humiliate, any type of behavior like that that would make a student feel uncomfortable. And then we look for the last piece, was it repeated, or does it have the potential to be repeated? So we can take a look at situations. For example, a student is out at PE, they are sitting on a bench, a student randomly comes up and bumps your child off the bench onto the ground. Now, the child will say, that child just bullied me. The questions that will be asked will be, has this happened before? No. This is the first time. I don't even know who this student is. They just came over and they bumped me off the bench and knocked me on the ground. Okay, the school will absolutely deal with that behavior, but that would not be considered a bullying situation. It would be bullying if every day at PE they targeted your child and they said things to them or they pushed them off the bench every day. So that's just kind of the things that we look for. But the most important thing is whatever that behavior is that is occurring with your child, it needs to be stopped. So characteristics of peer conflict. We teach our students that, conflict is a normal part of our everyday. I mean, we have conflicts, but we also know that in a conflict, both students involved have equal power in the relationship. So you have two students, for example, and one is saying things and another one's saying things right back. And I'm mad at you, well, I'm mad at you. And they keep trading insults possibly back and forth with each other, or physically pushing each other back and forth, but they're both doing it. Neither student is looking for power or control, they just disagree. Usually the student will feel responsibility for what they've done. They just want to solve the problem. So conflict does happen occasionally, and it is not usually a serious or damaging to either person. This next slide, you'll see three headings at the top: rough play versus the real fighting versus bullying. This is a lot of what we go by. When we are looking at our students in school, most of what our kids are doing when they're goofing around in the hallway is that rough play, that first column on the left. They are usually friends, and usually they will repeat it. Like, I'll call you a name, you call me a name, I'll push you, we're laughing, we're having a good time. And of course, we as the adults in the school, if we see these behaviors, we stop them, because we know that that rough play can actually turn into a real fight. Well, I didn't call your mom that name, you called my mom that name, and now they're really upset with each other. Now you have two kids that are in a conflict, and they are, angry with each other, and a possible fight can occur at this point here. This is where we do mediation between students. So if we have a balance of power between students and they're having a conflict, we get the students together and we figure out what's going on, and we talk out the issue, and usually the conflict is resolved and students can move on and resume their normal day. When it turns to bullying, let's say that it started as rough play. I push you, you push me, we're having a good time, but now you're pushing me a little too much, and I'm not really comfortable with it, but I'm laughing because I don't want my friends to think otherwise. I don't want them to think I'm weak, so I'm kind of laughing about it, but I'm not really pushing back, and I'm not doing this anymore, and I'm uncomfortable. So a lot of what we teach our students too is to, read body language. If somebody is not comfortable with something that you're doing, you need to stop. So that rough play can actually bypass the real fighting and move into a bullying situation, to where now the other student is continuing to do the behavior and the other student is really uncomfortable and they don't know how to get it to stop. And that's where, when we have a bullying report, we do not do mediation between students unless we know for sure that it's actually a peer conflict. So in a bullying situation, students are typically not friends, although there are kids that will say that the child that is bullying them is their friend. There is an unequal power that is taking place, and they are intending to do harm. And the affect is negative, so they're not laughing and having a good time anymore. One may be that's displaying the bullying behaviors, but the student who's receiving those behaviors is no longer having fun, but not quite sure how to stop it. And that is where we tell our kids that we need them to report not only to their parent at home, but they need to let an adult at the school know what's happening so that it can stop. Excuse me, sorry. And Doreen, this is you.
Thank you, Joan. So I'm going to talk about different types of bullying. So the two types of bullying are direct and indirect bullying behaviors, but they can be categorized into 4 different categories: verbal, physical, relational aggression, and cyberbullying. Verbal bullying includes taunting, teasing, name-calling, extortion, and threats. Physical bullying are ones that we're able to see easier than the other types of bullying. Physical bullying is harm to a person or property, such as shoving a child into a locker, destroying their homework. Relational bullying or aggression, also known as emotional bullying, is harm to someone's self-esteem or group acceptance. Cyberbullying is also bullying, it's just in a different location. It's any type of social media, and a lot of times students feel that if I do it outside school, I'm not going to get in trouble for it, or they can't do anything about it. But cyberbullying is bullying, just in a different location, and there can be consequences, whether it's done after school hours or even on the weekends. Our schools will investigate cyberbullying. Prevent cyberbullying tips for parents. Create rules for the internet. Monitor where they go online. Educate yourself and your child. Know what your child is doing online. Learn the language. Don't allow solitary surfing. Don't rely solely on technology to protect kids. Know your child's passwords. Encourage your kids to tell you immediately if they or someone they know is being cyberbullied. Explain that you will not take away their computers or cell phones if they confide in you about a problem they are having.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, so we're going to talk about the students who use bullying behaviors. And we know that typically they can have more positive attitudes towards violence than their peers, have quick tempers, can be easily frustrated, and have difficulty conforming to rules. And the strength piece comes in where the boys, I'm stronger than you type of thinking. So bullying is about power. It's power and control is why the student is doing what they're doing. They're looking for power and control, but they're looking for it in a very negative way. So many times people who use bullying behaviors truly believe that fear and intimidation equals respect. So some warning signs if your child is bullying. The behaviors are irritable and angry with others. They believe that it's okay to be mean to others to get their needs met. They may blame others and take no responsibility for the problem. They may show little or no empathy or remorse. So when we talk about the student that receives the bullying behaviors, and we call them the victim, and we really don't want to label children the victim or the bully, so we use the student who feels victimized. But there are two key things that happen with students that get bullied. And the first one is the lack of friends, and the second is the lack of social skills. And these are the two of the most significant risk factors for students who feel victimized. So some warning signs that we talk about if your child is being bullied. So some unexplained marks or bruises, drop in attendance or grades, damaged or missing belongings, health complaints. They once loved school, now they hate school. They don't want to go, they're avoiding it. Change in eating habits, withdrawal. So those are some of the things that you as a parent can take a look and see, talking to your child. Yes, we want to know about their academics and how well they're doing, but we also want to ask those questions about their socialization. Who are your friends? And have them list the friends' names. And if you find that your child is not able to give you names of friends or feel connected with students in the school, please contact the school, and you would reach out to the school counselor. You can talk with the principal, the assistant principal. You can even talk with the teacher, and it would all be confidential, and they will work with your child and find out what's going on. So what can families do? Well, whether your child is the one displaying those bullying behaviors or your child is the one receiving the bullying behaviors, well, you want to take the problem seriously, of course. We want to listen carefully and check out the facts. Work with the school. The biggest thing that I see is many times, parents hear the word bullying and they kind of pull away from the school and they're looking for outside help immediately. Work with the school, find out what's going on. Most of the reports that we have in Pinellas County School do not meet the definition of bullying, but the schools handle the behaviors no matter what it is, and consequences will be applied to students who behave inappropriately, whether it's bullying or not. And of course, resist the tendency to blame yourself. And you don't want to blame the victim, like if it's your child that comes home and the kids are saying things or inappropriate. You don't want to say, well, if you didn't act that way or say this or do that, the kids wouldn't treat you that way. We don't want to blame the victim. It's not their fault, no matter what they do. And of course, if your child is the one that has found to been using bullying behaviors, consequence your child appropriately.
The power of the bystanders, the silent majority. 10% of the population use bullying behaviors. 15% of the population are considered the victims. 75% of the school population are considered the bystanders. Who has the most power? 90% of the population. So 90% of the population can do the right thing. Bystanders. Observe bullying behavior. Make up the majority of students. Have the power to prevent bullying. The role of the bystander is often overlooked in bully and victim situations. However, it's the bystander who has a powerful role in changing the culture of the school. The attitudes and behaviors of students and adults can play a significant role in reducing bullying problems. Recent research states that in most schools, 10% of the students are bullies. The reaction of students who do not participate in bullying can have a major influence on the short and long-term outcomes of bullying situations. If the many students who witness bullying are encouraged not to tolerate the behavior, it will have a positive impact on school culture and the reduction of bullying behaviors. Rattling, tattling, or snitching. And usually we get this in the elementary grades, that they don't want to tattle or get someone in trouble. But when you are reporting, you're doing it not to get someone in trouble, but you're doing it to keep someone safe or get someone out of trouble. So there's a difference. So have that conversation with your child. Responses that don't work. Just ignore it. It's not going to go away if you just ignore it. Fight back. If you fight back, you're also going to get in trouble. So it's best to go get an adult or tell someone at home and get some help. Student or adult intervention. In the majority of bullying episodes in which students or adults intervene, the bullying stops within 2 minutes, 90 seconds, 1 minute, 10 seconds. I'll give you all just a couple to think about that. It actually will stop in 10 seconds when somebody intervenes. What if scenarios? Be prepared and protect yourself by thinking ahead. Role play with your child at home. Ask them what they would do if they were approached. Who would be the person they trust the most in the school to report to? What can you do? Teach and practice with your child. Not to laugh, don't ignore it, don't encourage it, don't take part. Report bullying to a trusted adult. The report can be done anonymously. We often have students that go into our anonymous alert system and report, and it can be done anonymously.
Okay, and as we get toward the end here, one of the main things that you need to think about too, and I know that we do this as parents, is that we establish a family philosophy, talk about bullying at home, and the importance of taking a stand against it. You want to ask questions about safety at school, and of course you want to support the school efforts as well. So how do you report bullying or harassment? You can verbally or in writing talk to the principal or any staff member at your school. We also have an online reporting system, and these two links go to the same reporting form. It's the bullying.pcsb.org, and if you go to that link and you put in a report, it goes right to the school team, but it also goes to the prevention office as well, as we monitor every report that comes into the district, because many times we assist schools in investigating reports and helping support students. There's also the option of calling the Campus Crime Stoppers hotline. You would text that keyword tip 144 plus what your message is to crimes, and then it's right there on your screen, the 274-637. And every school has a safe team in Pinellas County Schools. This is an investigative and prevention team for reports of bullying or harassment that not only investigates the reports, but also puts supports in place for all involved. This is a screenshot of what our online reporting webpage, Anonymous Alerts, looks like. And as you can see, there's a drop-down menu to select the language. This is in 16 different languages. So parents and guardians of students that English may not be their first language, there's many different languages to choose from, and they can, once they choose their language, that form turns into that, whether, for example, Spanish. And then the parent can read it and put in their information in Spanish. And once it gets submitted to through Anonymous Alerts, it translates to English when it comes to the school and to my department. So lastly, this is a national media campaign. This is a wonderful website if you have not had the chance to go to it. And it's the stopbullying.gov. It's got wonderful resources for students, parents. There's things on there. There are webinars that you can actually webisodes that you can actually watch with your child about any type of bullying. Like, for example, it might be physical bullying, and there'll be an episode on there that will actually talk about it and talk your child through it and kind of give them some ideas as to what to do. So it's a wonderful website if you've not had a chance to go on and just take a look at it. You can also always contact myself or Doreen Daughtry, and we are in the prevention office, and our phone numbers are right here on the screen, as well as our email addresses. And that's what we have, and we thank you so much for listening today.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, ladies, thank you so much. That was a comprehensive look into bullying and harassment, and had lots of great information. We don't have any questions yet. I can't believe there aren't questions out there, parents. So as I wind up with the concluding thoughts here, if there are any questions, we will monitor the chat until we're done talking. So it's only 6:28. We have plenty of time. We, again, thank you for joining. The link to the session recording will be in your email in the morning. And also, we post that link on the Parent Academy page on our Pinellas County Schools website. Feel free to share that recording with other interested family members or community members, PTAs, post it on your PTA pages. It's good information and needs to get out. If you have questions that you think of this evening as you're reflecting on the presentation, or you just didn't want to type them into the chat, please send an email to me, Sheila Kane. I sent you the link to this webinar, so you have my email, and you're free to reply to that, and I will direct the email to the prevention office as well. The addresses of Joan and Doreen are on the screen, and will also be in the PDF of the PowerPoint that I will also include with the session recording. Please remember to check out our upcoming Parent Academies. Some are in traditional format, face-to-face at schools or community centers, and others are in this format via webinar. The Fall Parent Academy catalog is also available on the Pinellas County Schools website. And we still don't have any questions, so I think we'll ring off for the evening. Everybody can have early dinner.
Oh, I think I see a question.
Pardon?
I thought I saw a question.
Oh, there it is. One came in just now. Thank you. Was that you, Doreen? Thanks.
Yeah.
Should the school not follow through, should the school not follow through, what can a parent do? No reason to be sorry about early dinner. We're here for you. So ladies, somebody want to answer that one?
Yeah, absolutely. If the school is not following through and you're not feeling satisfied, and you've gone to the school principal and you're still not satisfied with what's happening, you can always call our office. If you give us a call, let us know what's going on. Doreen and I work with many schools, and we are a liaison between the schools, so we can, figure out what's going on, provide some supports, and sometimes we actually go out and help and meet with the parent and the student and find out the best solution to what's going on. Anything you want to add, Doreen?
No, sometimes it could be as simple as miscommunication. So it's better to work together as a team in the best interest of your child.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that was a good message to end up the session.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Thanks, families. We'll again be sharing the recording, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next Parent Academy.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.